So if you're like me and you put lowering springs on your FL5 and you either popped out your axle seal or ripped your boot, I've already fixed the axle seal, haven't fixed the boot because I didn't know it was ripped. This video will be for you. I got part numbers. I'll show you step-by-step video on how to do this. All right, here, pulling off the spacer, 19 mils. I punch out the little indention with a little flathead on the axle nut, buzz it off with the impact, grab the impact screwdriver. If you don't have one of these, they're wonderful. They knock that screw out every time. Here, I start removing the bracket that holds the rubber brake line to the hard brake line. So there's two 12 mils because you have to remove the bracket. And then I remove the ABS sensor with the 10 mil and just pull that up and out of the way. Two 19 mils, you'll pull off the caliper here. And then you see me struggling, but eventually I grab the blue hook, hang it from the shock, and we're good to go. At this point, I will grab a 17 mil and take out the 4 wheel bearing bolts. Buzz these out real quick as my big head is in the way. And then just tap on the axle. It doesn't need a whole lot of love. And then these 3 Phillips. And then I'll remove the outer tie rod here. Real quick, just pull the clip. You barely. And here, 2 19 mils, and you remove the lower ball joint. And then you can pull that whole entire knuckle assembly right out of the way. And then what you're looking at here is me cutting the bands. I just used a set of diagonal cutters. And then I used, this I had to punch off. This one was a little harder to get. But eventually I'll get it off. And then I just use a razor knife and cut it off. There is grease. This stuff is thick. It's nasty. I tried to wipe out as much as I could. But when you pull that out, you will have 6 bearings that fall out. That cage will not come off until you press that specific inner piece of the bearing off. There's a snap ring in there. And then for me, I had to use a 3-jaw puller. Otherwise, it wasn't coming off. But that will be coming up here very shortly. I tried hitting it. Didn't work. Didn't move a bit. Learn from what I did. As you can see, I decided to work smarter, not harder, and press this out. It came out rather easy. I struggled for a minute just because you need an extra set of hands. Didn't push it out far enough, so I had to put a socket in there. All right, when reassembling, there's 2 sides. You got the side where the splines are shaved down, and you got the side where they're not. This only goes on one direction. And when you put it back on the shaft, which you can't see, you want this side to go on first. Because if you don't, so splines, it'll go on this direction. So what I'm gonna do is I got a piece of wood. I got the splines lined up and a 32 mil socket over the end of this, and then I'll just hit it back into place. And then you can hear it stop. And then what you should be left with is where you can see the ring or the groove for the C-clip, so you can put that back in. Alright, so this gets to the little more difficult part. So what you're doing here is, there's a couple tools of this. I chose to get myself this tool here. This is, I mean, the other side worked. Well, I mean, at least I think it worked. But, so from what I understand, I don't think this is going to grip it very well, but we're going to give it a shot. Nope. It's trying to pull this through so you can pull this tight. I don't think there's quite enough here to get it. So what I'll do is I could probably unwrap it once. Yeah. So put one wrap on it. And I'll probably cut that other side off so you can actually see how this works. So what I'll do is I'll put this in, slide this piece over, I'll at least pull it tight, get it close, and then I'm gonna roll it this way. And you just use a 17 mil. That was what I used. It worked for me. And then I just, you don't need to wrench on it, but you definitely want it tight. Because, I mean, you don't want the boot coming off. Alright, that looks tight. So I'm just going to hit this over with that, and then I'll be able to just pull this out. So that boot is tight. Is it perfect? Eh, probably not. Will it hold? I hope. So it's down. Let me trim this. And I'll trim these up off camera so we're not here forever. But how this should look is, oh, there it is. That's about how it should look. What you shouldn't do is that. But one down. I'll redo the other side so we can get a better view of that, but we'll go there. All right, so I'm gonna redo this outside one, but what I found is unwinding it the entire way so you have some meat to grip when you're turning this. The banding tool, I got this on Amazon. It was like 13 bucks. But it goes in. It's rather easy to use. Just make sure it's straight. So I slide it to where it fits, sorta. We'll try this again, and again, and again. Man, don't cut yourself on this shit. It's fucking sharp. All right. So I'm gonna put this on here. And that is pretty damn tight. So what I'm gonna do is peel that over, because that's as tight as it's going to be. I'll knock this flat with the hammer, and then peel these over and knock them down. So, and then for me, oh yeah, that ain't going nowhere. Classic dad moment there. And again, don't touch any of these nipped edges because they are sharp. So here you'll see me pop the axle into place and then slide the knuckle back onto the lower ball joint. The rearmost hole for that is circular, and the front is kind of oblong. So try to get that front one in, or the rear one in first, and then tighten that one. There, I torqued that with about 3 Ugga-Duggas, so it's not coming loose. Make sure you put on the brake shield. I didn't tighten this up. I left it kind of loose so that when I slid the wheel bearing in, that it wasn't in one spot and it blocked the wheel bearing from going in. I learned this from doing the axle seal. But give it some love taps. You ain't got to hit it hard. Mine slid right in, and I started getting the bolts in. Again, these are 17 mils. I tightened these. I went over them a couple times to make sure that they were tight, because you are pulling. You're trying to keep these pulled straight. You don't want it to go in crooked. What you'll see here in a second is you'll see me pop the wheel spacer on like a dummy, completely forgetting to, so I gave it 6 Ugga-Duggas, put the spacer on, and I was like, oh shit, now I got to torque this down, which I did off camera and restarted it because it's the next video. Here it's pretty self-explanatory. You gotta be careful with that hard line because it's kind of hard to get back into place. Here I struggled with the brake pads. But again, 19 mils, I ran these down till they were snug and then put a ratchet on it to make sure they were nice and tight. Overall, this took me about an hour, rebuild and all, clean up. It's not that hard, but for $50 or $71 shipped, I mean, it's better than a $650 axle, and it could save you some money.